You know the wildest thing about the spiritual journey? You have to walk it yourself. You literally learn by experiencing the truth as you go and watching things change as you change what you believe. And all you can do is sing the song as you go. I cannot give you what I know. I can only tell you, come on, it is so good this way. Like, follow me. Don't try to be like me. Don't worship me. Follow me in the way that I'm being. You cannot help anyone until you live like them. Until you have the experience of being someone, you have no ability to really understand what holds them there. When you have truly experienced what someone else has, judgment automatically dissolves. It evaporates into air because everyone is right where they stand. This is a very paradoxical spiritual truth we cannot get, but I will get us there if you hang with me. I promise. Like, I am sorry. Things will get weird. I do not want to do this. I don't want to make videos. I certainly don't want to get spiritual. I just wanted to do some executive coaching and consulting and play with bunnies. And suddenly, as I go to launch this company, the whole world's falling apart. So things change. Unprecedented times call for unprecedented action. So, all right, I've picked this path and here we go. So anyway, there's a paradoxical spiritual truth that's very important to understand. Everyone is right where they stand, and no one is right about where anyone else stands. We are each 100% the only one who really understands where we're at, what we feel, who we are. The only one. We are the only expert on ourselves. Period. And what you think is right for you and where you're at is what is right for you and where you're at. And that has nothing to do with anyone else outside of you. You are not, nothing you think works for you or is right about you applies to other people. And that is so hard, especially since all we really seem to long for is to be understood by another person. And yet we're totally screwed because no one can really see us, right? We can't really understand another person because we're only the experts on ourselves. Which leads you to this idea, well, then what's the purpose of relationship? Haha. So glad you asked. Because the purpose of relationship isn't really to be understood where you are. It's to move to somewhere else together. When we really are with someone and connect, haven't you ever noticed, like, the conversation is fun, you're flowing, like, and you can end up somewhere completely different. I've had a few conversations in the last weeks where I've had so many insights that then replicated, and I gained so much from those conversations that I'll say, well, I don't know where those conversations are going to go because we're all in flux right now, especially. But maybe that conversation was all we were connected for, and that's okay because I have met so many thousands of people on my journey. Like, I feel bad because I'll bump into people from years ago and they remember me a lot more than a lot of times I'll remember them. And I have to say, this is not anyone's fault. Again, I just want to explain. Most of the people I know meet 50 to 100 people in a year, maybe. A lot of Americans don't leave their home state, some even their home city. You don't meet that many people. Look at me. I'm like a rolling stone. I meet 20 people a day. I've pinged while you've lived in the same place all around the world, all around the country, working at high levels, low levels, corporate offices, retail stores. Like, I have been with people for the purpose that we're discussing in this video, because you cannot help people until you really walk with them. It's great to climb that ladder and make money and like be up there and be like, yeah, I know how everything works. But yet you don't know how everything works. See, that's the trick. If you really want to know what's holding back society, you got to climb up that ladder, get that knowledge, and come back down. Because it doesn't look the same down at the bottom once you've been to the top. There's a very good reason once you get to the top, you stay there. And yet, all that knowledge that you have could do so much good at the bottom. This was one of the most wild things I witnessed in retail, because I've been at the corporate office and then I was at the store, and I was like, guys, if you would just bring all the corporate expertise, because I've been at conferences with those folks, worked with them, buyers, compliance people, like the whole 9 yards. If you brought them to the store, your problems would be solved so quickly. But because you have them writing policy out there that's completely different from down here, and all the predatory weird stuff happening down here that's completely disconnected from your policy up here, you cannot solve your problems, and it almost seems purposeful, like you've made an unsolvable situation. And that's kind of what we do as humans. Truth and the reality, or I should say the truth about this reality, is so simple. It's not easy because we have this innate drive to overcomplicate things so they're unsolvable. And that sounds silly, but we all do it. You can take it in just go to the gum section of a store, right? A good store like Target, where there's like 50 kinds of gum. Now I've actually set the whole merchandising section and unfilled the products. Like I have this whole new respect for these people and what goes on. And these people, me, us. So anyway, but if you just look at the gum section, when you're opening you're like, we have so many choices. We have overcomplicated the selection of ketchup or juice, or to the point where it's almost hard to make a choice. And that's just on a little micro level, but that happens on the macro, where things are so overcomplicated. And now we exist in a situation where truth and information is being fragmented to the point where what I've always said, that the fastest way to create an army of darkness is convince them they're fighting or standing for the side of light. That's a trick, right? That's a perception trick where you get people to really get fired up about a cause. You make the cause threatened, and then you tell them that they're doing the right thing. What does that mean, though? Before we move on, let's talk about that. The fastest way to create an army of darkness is to convince them they're fighting on the side of right. And I don't like the word fight, so I say standing on the side of right, but let's whatever. That means that people are genuinely well-intentioned. That's what that means. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. If we were judged by our intentions, if our results reflected our intentions, we would all be in different places. But as we learn the truth about the world and realize we can only be given what we expect, we have to go, well, actually, my intentions weren't what I thought they were. Otherwise, I would have gotten something else. So who is really lying to who? We want to believe we're good. That's why we're easy to manipulate. We want to believe we're under threat because it makes us feel like we're more good, and we can project out the things we don't like about ourselves on the them and think we can escape it with the us. But if we look around our us, or even in the mirror on a bad day, we'll be like, I seem to have some of those qualities I despise so much in others. But I really want to focus for a minute on this goodness, because the only reason that darkness can use humans to further its narrative is because they're so passionate about doing what's right. I really can get to loving people in that space, even if they are literally going to swing the axe right at my head. I can be like, you know what? I get that you're doing that because you think it's right, and I love you for that. How do you think Jesus got to that place of, I think about it all the time. I know it's not a normal thing to think about, but I think of him. That's how I have that example. It's graphic, I know, but of someone swinging something at him and him being like, I forgive you because you know not what you do. I've followed that thread to where I can actually experience that ability to love beyond the act in that way. Because I have seen again and again humans' ability to become what they claim to despise with the absolute best intentions in their heart. And I have too. We all do. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you go, why and what's happening, and let's make a change. Insanity is defined as trying the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. And yet here we go, continuing to try to make the spiritual journey something isn't, to try to make God and love something they aren't. The 10 Commandments are clear, and I'm going to dive into those. But let's just go with some low-hanging fruit. Do not kill. No one, no faith yet, has actually taken that on in a real way, other than Buddhism, which doesn't follow the Bible, actually. I have a strict no violence policy. You know, I do all my big talking and jokes, but like, I won't touch a gun. And I won't. Even if I go to war or anything, I'm going to join that long cast of like the Joan of Arcs and the Gandhis. And like, I believe that there's a different power and it's not in a gun. I have touched a gun and like, I am repulsed by them at this point. I can feel the death machine in it. And that's a natural reaction. Anyone who tells me they're talking God, but can handle a death machine has confused vibrations. And again, I've done enough study where I don't judge that as like, you're going to hell. But they're called the deadly sins for a reason. Now, not because you're going to burn in hell forever, because even the most cruel being would get sick of torturing you after a while. And I've been taught that God is loving, and I completely ascribe to that. So that means punishment isn't part of it. Even Putin and Kim Jong-un, like the most evil archetypes we have on the planet, would get sick of torturing someone after maybe a week or two. Maybe a month. Maybe a year if they were really into it. But eternity? And then you go, well, loving God, it's not really him because he gave you the right way to behave. And it's really the devil that's doing it. I don't buy that. Sorry. God set the whole system up. He's all powerful. He could go like this and cancel it. Any being that allows suffering on its watch when it can cancel it like this is cruel. So Christians get to pick a lane. Is your God cruel or is your God loving? I was raised on the idea of a loving God with all the cruelty and punishment intact. So I have special insight into how someone can talk love while spewing hate with the best of intentions. None of that was done on purpose. And it damaged me for a long time, but now I understand why it was so important and purposeful. Because I can see beyond the language of hate to the good intention behind it. But I also very much plan to reach to the heart behind it and say, when something involves the vibration of hate, death, anger, greed, envy, when anyone takes the God's name in vain, which actually means attaching his name to their cause that is not of him, they're breaking a commandment. Why? What does that mean? Why does it matter? Not because you're going to go to hell, but because you are snuffing out. You're not snuffing it out because the light in you can't go out, but you're covering it. You're covering it in darkness so you forget who you are. Judge not lest ye be judged is judge not lest ye be judged by you, because you can't do anything when you're all locked down in judgment. And when you judge other people, you assume they're going to judge you the way you judge them. The way you think other people judge you has nothing to do with them and everything to do with how you judge. And you can't see that until you're willing to push through these kinds of conversations and lessons. You can only do that if you are willing to experience life and let it in. If you are willing to walk alongside the humble and the mighty in the world view and see their suffering as the same. That was a big shift for me, was when I got around the big buckos, the guys who had real dough. And you're like, at first, you're all wide-eyed and intimidated, like, imagine it would be like Jesus when he met a Pharisee, back in the day. Like, wow, this guy's really got it. Super church, super rich. Like, this person has God figured out. And then you meet him and you go, huh, this is the apex of humanity? I think not. So I went hunting, and that's really what I've been doing. I've been going from place to place to go, what is the apex of humanity? Where is this God message that I'm looking for? I say I'm a universalist. I've gone through Buddhism, Taoism, biblical studies, like all around, to be like, who's got the real message? And I gotta tell you, the best I've heard is in Pink's song, All I Know So Far, which is basically, nobody knows what's going on. Everybody says they know what they're up to and what's happening here, and really nobody knows what they're talking about. Everybody is just making it up. And I got that. I was like, they are. Except for me. Because I see currency, like the only thing I've ever wanted is knowledge. And we all follow a different path of knowledge. Like Pink's found a lot of her own. She's phenomenal. I love her. But nobody really applies themselves to really finding the answer to the universe, which carries us back, though, hilariously, to the beginning, which is everyone has to walk their own route. It doesn't even matter if I've achieved anything, because I can talk about it, but the best thing I can do is try to illuminate the path and say, follow me. I cannot walk it for you. I can only go along with the Holy Spirit and be like, let's go, guys, come on this way. And that's what I guess I have to do. I don't know how that fits in with executive coaching and consulting, but that's where we are. And I guess that's what I have to say on that, other than I love you. And I'm sorry in advance for how this is going to get weird, but I have to do this. I have been made for a time such as this. And no matter what happens, just remember this. 2 things. I love you, and I don't want to do this. Act of faith, right?